Hello viewers, welcome to C tutorial, and here we are going to discuss types of variable in C and this is the session 5 of this video series. So let's start with. Okay, so this is the same title what we had discussed in our last video session. Basically a variable is nothing but it's a container or it's a storage space basically which will hold some value, and and the second definition we can go for, like it is a given name to a particular value, in the sense like scam.net is the value for a particular variable called tutorial name, like. So we have some of types in variable instances that we are going to discuss one by one, and the first one is your local variable. So what it tells about a variable which is declared inside a particular block, or that block might be a method, that might be a constructor, right? So that variable is called a local variable. And why it is local? Because that can be only available, accessible or operatable within that block only. It won't be considered a consideration, or it won't take to any consideration outside of that block. So how it got created and executed? Basically a variable got created when the execution starts. That means, let's suppose there is a method A, and when the method A called by a particular execution step, then the variable got created in the memory, and once the block execution ends off, the variable also destroys by the garbage collector. As it is local to a block, its scope will be within that block. So what I mean to say, I already said, right? Like a variable which is declared inside a block, that will be only available to that block. It won't be accessible outside of the block. So let's see an action. So let's see, like here, if I'm defining any variable. Okay, before that, what we would like to go for, so we'll see like this. Let's suppose let's define a method. Okay, so it could be called fabric. Void, because it won't return any value. Display name. Okay, so this is the method I'm having, and okay, so this method we have defined, but rather than hard coding, what are we supposed to do here? Oh, okay. Okay, rather than printing here, what I'm supposed to do here? Okay, so this is a variable which is, just declared inside a method, and okay, as I told, the one rule is like it is local because it is only available within that block, the scope I am talking about. And how I'm going to prove this? Try to access this variable. Is it accessible? No, we won't be accessible. Okay, even let's suppose create a object of this class as well. Let's suppose, just an example. Okay, and if you will try to access, just try to, access it, whether it is accessible or not. We are getting the display name. Okay, we are getting the display name but not the variable. Okay, rather than do what we can, I want to do like string and okay, so return name. Okay, so that's fine. Even that green symbol also gone because it is used. So earlier it was saying the variable declared but never used. Okay, so what I am trying to do over here, like console dot write line. Okay, it won't be accessible. Okay, so this is one rule we are justifies that it will be available on only to that block. Okay, so rather than that, what I am supposed to do, like using vj program dot, just call this method. Okay, just run the program and we'll see the output how it appears. Just building the solution. Build succeeded. Here you can see build succeeded and it is going to run the program and we should be getting the console. Yes, here we are. It's all good. Let's close this. So this is all about like how local variable works basically. Why it is local? Because the scope is only for a particular block and it should be inside a block. It's not like you are defining outside the block. That means it is local. If you're going to declare outside, then it would be, you know, some different type of variable that we are going to discuss just now. Okay, thank you. So the next one we are going to discuss is like instance or non-static variable basically. So instance or non-static variable declared inside a class and outside of a block basically. So the variable which is declared or instantiated even inside a block, which is called local variable, but the variable is declared at class level but it's not within any block, so that would be referred as your instance or non-static variable, right? So as these variables declared inside a class, so it got created when the object of the class or it got instantiated. Basically we will be okay, we will see this on action. So basically that variable which will be declared inside a class, it will start its process or it will got created, it got created when the object of the class got created. Okay, or when we are instantiating that particular class or creating the object of the class using the new operator. Okay, and destroy when it is when the object gets disposed. Okay, so let's see. So as the first point we want to justify, let's go. I'm just deleting. Okay, rather than deleting the entire thing, so delete this one. Okay, and I don't want to even assign anything. Okay, this is a method and a simple, it's a good practice. Okay, not, let's don't assign anything as of now. Okay, so here you can see, so name is nothing but it is the instance variable. Okay, instance or non-static variable. Okay, and we need to just put a semicolon. Okay, but that's fine. So here what I'm supposed to do, like this is the object of this program, and here what I want to do, obj program dot name equals, okay, scam dot net. I'm assigning one value, okay, and let's create one more object as well. And here the value it would be scam.net education. Okay, that's fine. Now what I am supposed to do, name your, sorry, the object can be same, this is the object 2, and here what I'm supposed to do here, okay, control V and just mention it as the second object. So here you can see we are having just one variable as class level, or which is called instance variable, but as the second point, we just discussed this one, like a variable will have its own copy based on the object actually. Okay, and when you go to the third point also, to access the variables we need to create the object of what we have just saw. The last one is like each variable creates its own copy according to object. So that's what I just want to prove. Let's see on action. Okay, so here like object 1, okay, let's give it as object 1 to just make it more understandable. So here the first is object 1, the second is called here object 2. Okay, and we are referring to the same. So as like instance variable is going to share its own copy, that means the value will be returning in a different address location. Object 1 refers to a different memory location, it will have its own copy, and object 2 also the same thing. Okay, so now let's see on action. Okay, so we are referring the same variable, but the value would be different at the same time of execution. And the third point, as we discussed, it starts or it got creates when the object is going to be instantiated basically, and while calling. Okay, so let's run this. So here you can see, right, we are getting both the value scam.net as well as scam.net education. Okay, so it proves the thing. Okay, so here, so the rule also validates that, or it states that we can have the multiple copy for a particular variable and each object has its own copy. So that's all about your instance variable. Now we will move into the static variable. Basically this is the non-static, and that would be static variable. Okay, so the next one is like, as we call like static variable, the variable which is declared using the keyword called static. That variable is called as static variable. Okay, because it is declared with the modifier or the keyword called static. Okay, and it is also known as class level variables too. Okay, so static variable got created when the program execution starts and ends up with the execution wind up. The thing is, as it is static, it should be executing at the initial step itself when the class is going to execute. Okay, but in case of instance variable, it will be only got created when the object of the class is going to be instantiated. That's the main difference. When we will highlight some of differences also before moving into the practical. Okay, so instance variable will have its own copy, as we saw, like when there is a name, there was a variable, and like you saw, based on object 1 and object 2, we were holding a different values. But in case of static, it won't be possible, because it won't say multiple copy. It will have a common address, common memory location, and it is going to be written the same value. So that's the thing. Okay. And changes made at one instance variable won't reflect on another because it says its own copy. But in case of static variable, it's going to be reflect because it is at the end it is pointing to a particular memory location. It doesn't matter how many objects you are, it is going to, as you know, sorry, like, because one of the point is like, why it is setting to the same location, because static is something which can be accessible directly or via the class name. It is not allowed to just access via object name what we had in case we are having in case of instance variable, right? So this is the third difference we are talking. Instance variable can be accessed using the object of the class, but in case of static variable, this can be accessible directly using class name with dot operator or maybe directly. Instance variable gets instantiated every time the objects got created. Okay, so let's suppose there is a name, and as we were discussing in our last program, right? Let me show you. So here the name, so one time of initialization will happen when this line is going to execute, and the second one when it is going to execute, because based on the two object it got created with you know, object or program 1 and program 2, basically obj program and obj program 2, and which is instantiating two times. Okay, but in case of static it is not at all possible like this, and the process is not like that. That's why it is called as class level variable as well, because it is only specific to that class. Okay, and it says the common data as well. So the static variable initializes only one time in life cycle, as I told, because once the class executes, it will create the variable itself, and the lifetime will be once the execution, until the execution went off. So that's the thing. Okay, let's move into and see on next one. So here, let's suppose I just want to make this as static by using modifier static as we discussed. So that's why it is called, you know, static method. Basically it is called static variable, right? And here you can see, right, so it is showing red. And what is the error is all about? Member program.net can't be accessed with an instance reference because it is static. It is not like instance variable. That's the one of the difference we were just highlighting in our presentation, right? So we don't even need this object. So rather than, as I told, like, name, you know, name can be directly accessible. So this is the one way I'm just showing you, like accessing. Okay, so this is fine. Accessing directly, and do one thing, just print this immediately. Fine. Now even we don't need this object as well. Rather than, what I am supposed to do, second page I told, using class name by using dot operator. Fine. And here I want to assign this value. Okay, so in this case we are having a same static variable, and basically there is a two assignment, and let's see on action what will be the output, then we'll discuss. Okay, fine. Just run the solution and see on action what is the output. Here we are. Okay, So here you can see, like, it is directly accessible, and here the same variable is accessible via the program. But what is the important point is here, I'm assigning one value, and I'm just simply, I'm not, as I told, like, it is not going to create a multiple copy, because we are accessing directly, or maybe via class name also. Okay, though I'm just pointing the same variable. Okay, even you can access like program.name as well, but it's the same thing, assignment and the accessing also. Okay, so here you can see, before executing this line, right, this line number 15 and 16, okay, it is returning this value scam.net, and suddenly when I got changed, the name, it is, which is pointing to the same, even it is highlighting the same also, right? So again it is changing to the scam.net education, so it proves that it won't have a, multiple copy like we had in instance variable. Rather than, it will be sharing the same. And as it is a class level variable, why it is called? Because it starts with and ends with the class execution itself. So that is all about. Okay, let's move into the next one, is called your constant variable. Let's see on exam. So the next one is called constant variable. Basically, the variable which is declared with the keyword called const, const, const. So this variable is called constant variable. Also, it can be modified once declared. That's why, just for having this restriction, and limitation, we have to assign back at the time of declaration itself, because later stage we won't be able to modify this value. Okay, like, and basically the behavior of static and constant are almost same, and even in terms of, initialization in the life cycle, it will be executing again the same rule applicable here also for constant. The object's lifespan is like, once the class executes, starts executing, and wind up and destroyed once the class execution is over. Okay, and in both the same cases, it doesn't require any object, because it will have an error also if you are going to apply object. It can be directly accessible, because this is also a class level variable. Okay, the third one, the difference between static and constant is, the static variable can be modified, but constant we should not, it can't be modified. So that's the main difference. So let's implement and just see an action. Okay, let's move into the Visual Studio. So let me modify a bit this program. Okay, let me comment this out, and prior to that, okay, let's define one variable, const title. Okay, okay, let's suppose, as of now in this stage, let's const string title, and don't assign any value. Basically, what's wrong with this, const field require a value to be provided. So that's exactly what we want to see. Okay, even you just comment this out also. Okay, it will have the error. Even if you will trying to build also, it will give the error. See, a const field requires a value to be provided. That's the mandatory role. At the time of declaration itself, you have to assign it back. Okay, so title would be maybe called Mr. That's fine. And okay, so what is the second rule we were talking about? Like, it is the same class level variable and all, and it would be accessible directly. Okay, like this. Okay, so, or using the class name. So I'm just removing this part. Okay, fine. So let me comment it out also. Constant variable. So here, okay, so like that you can access okay, the behavior will be same as static, because in both the cases, like at the time of I don't know how to access basically this one. And in terms of initialization, because both the education or the lifespan basically for this both static and constant variable based on the class education, right? So title, see, I can be accessible. Okay, why it is giving error? Because I just want to modify, and this is the our third rule. It justifies static variable can be modified. Okay, simply just undo it. See, and you uncomment it also. Static variable can be modified because name is the static but constant not. Okay, that's why it's giving the same error. Even you can highlight, the error is all about the left hand side of the assignment must be a variable property or index. It's not taking into consideration that it is a variable, right? So that's the thing. Okay, it is not at all allowed. Okay, but if we'll try to print this out, so here, see, here we can access it using class name or maybe directly. So the behavior is same as static. See, I'm just simply trying to delete it. See, it is both are accessible, right? Okay, so let's do one thing. Just access using class name only, program dot name, and here I am assigning curl Ram. That's fine. And here I want to print something, and here we are going to use interpolation. Fine. Sorry, this should be dollar symbol as we discussed in our tutorial initially. So how to open this title, then just give a space again, spora dot name. Okay, let's do the same thing also. Okay, let it be. I'm just accessing title as directly and this one with class name. Even as I saw you, even it can be accessed using the class name. The behavior will be same as static, but the main difference, it can be modified but constant can't. So that's the thing, right? Let's execute and see on action what is the output for this. So here we are good to go with. So Mr. Ram sprints, right? So now let's move into the next topic, read only variable. So the read only variable, like the variable which is declared with the keyword like constant we have. So we are having one more keyword called the read only, that's called your read only variable. Also it can be modified. In one case we can compare with a constant. It also can't be modified. The main difference, at the time of declaration, a constant variable we have to initialize immediately, but here we can declare and later on stage once it is initialized we can't modify. So that's the main difference. Okay, it is not at all allowed even. Okay, and second thing, the behavior of read only and instance variable are same, that is initialized only after creating object to the class, right? So in instance variable we can just declare like as we saw. Okay, let's see on action basically. So here, okay, instead of static I'm just going to make it as read only. Okay, fine, read only string name, and as I told, okay, there is declared one more variable also, instance variable string name, not name, but we can go like surname. Okay, maybe surname. Okay, and this is your instance variable. Okay, fine. and the first rule it tells about like this both the variables can be modifiable once it assigned, but the main thing we have to assign immediately, else we will be getting the error immediately also. And read only we are declaring, and once it got assigned we can't change the value. So that's the thing. Okay, let's see, even I will show you this point. Okay, okay, so let's define a constructor, because without a constructor you can't even assign a read only variable. This is one point. So let me define a constructor. Okay, if you want to assign also, what would be the error? Okay, just because as of now, just ignore this red marks. We will resolve this immediately. Try to create a widget. By the way, we need it later on stage. Program copy obj program 1 equals new program, and try to change the value. What is the needed name, right? Equal to, let's suppose something, let's make it as an empty string. What is the error? It is saying a read only field can be assigned to accept in a constructor or variable initialized. So it need a constructor basically. So that's the thing. I want to make it as a parameterized constructor. So I want to pass this as RAM. Okay, let's use like Sunil. Okay, and yeah, so I need to define a constructor program. Okay, so string name, fine, and just assign it with name equals, okay, do one thing, value. Stay with the confusion. So fine. So yeah, okay, now once we will execute this. Okay, so let's just try to okay, as I saw, like still, so it got assigned. Okay, if you want to see, you can see on action. And do one thing, use obj program dot your name, and let's execute it. So here you can see Sunil, right? That means it got assigned. And as I told, now we will prove the first point, like both can be modified. As I told, if we try to modify also using the name, it will have a red mark, and now it already been assigned by a constructor. When we'll try to modify it using the same object name, we have to access it. So try to modify something, maybe Sunil do. See, it doesn't allow also. Okay, so even it is saying okay, a read only field cannot be assigned to accept a new constructor of the variable initializer. Again, what is the mean basically? So you need a constructor basically. Can you define with the same object name? No. And when the constructor basically being called, when you are creating the object. So now if you ask me, if what if I'm going to create one more object, so definitely you can go ahead and you just create. So as I told, like the behavior will be same as instance. Okay, that means it will contain its own copy. Like let's suppose I want to create one more object like called program 2. Okay, let's see an action also. Let me copy and make it as just 2. Okay, so 2 and it would be 2. Now the name would be, let's suppose, Sunil 2. It is possible because see, this object 1 is going to return one copy of this variable, and this object 2 is going to be return the copy of another way, copy of this variable, but the multiple copy it got created, two copies with the two memory location or two address location, like instance, though the behavior would be same as instance. Okay, but the thing is, you can't modify with the same memory location. That's the intent, like constant. Okay, but the main difference, it has to be assigned immediately, and it can be later stage using help of constructor. So let's run this. So here you can see Sunil, Sunil 2, both will have its own address basically. So that's the thing. Okay, so here you saw like the behavior of the read only and instance variable are same, that is initialized only after creating the object of the class, as well as it will contain its own copy. What is the third one? The difference between read only and instance is instance variable can be modified but read only variable cannot. Okay, as we already have seen, we can't modify even a read only variable, but instance variable is, is the common, we can modify also. Okay, no need to show in practical, we already have seen this thing. Okay, and okay, constant variable has a fixed value for whole class basically, but whereas read only has a fixed value for a specific object, as we just saw. I created here object 1 and object 2, object program and program 2 basically, and it still contains, a different value, like it contains different value, but here I am having a constant title. Even, like if I want to change also, it is not at all possible. If I can change, the thing is, it will contain a consistency value, and it will be, oh sorry, first thing, we can't modify it. Okay, it is not static, we can't modify it, and it will be available throughout the class. It's not like the only by the project name. Okay, just print this out as well. Okay, so console dot write line, sorry, typo, yeah, just call your title, right? Fine. So throughout the class it is accessible wherever you want to access. Okay, and let me print within the constructor as well. So whenever it is going to execute this one, so it will print 3 times. First of all, the time of creating this object, and this the second object, and we are printing the normal. So print over here also by appending something called here using concatenation inside the constructor. Okay, fine, and just use a plus operator. So let's run the solution and we can see. Okay, instance variable I don't need as of now. We already discussed all the point with examples, so run it. See, inside constructor Mr. and Sunil, again inside constructor Mr. again Sunil, because Mr. is something like you can see here, uh, Mr. is the constant variable, and it and again sorry, even it prints the third time also, right? So thus it proves like constant variable has a fixed value for the whole class, whereas read only has a fixed value with respect to object. So here object 1 prints Sunil and object prints Sunil 2, right? So this is all about the types of variable we have discussed, from local, instance, or static variable, constant variable, read only variable. Okay, so thank you viewers, thanks for watching this video. Basically as you told, like my text version will be available in this link, and you can visit to my blog for all the tutorials I have uploaded and will be uploading in future also. And okay, so thanks you so much once again for viewing this. Just let's move into the next video I'm uploading soon. Thank you, and kindly please don't forget to subscribe and just click on the bell icon to get notified whenever I'm posting a new video.